Mr. Gerry Linarducci. How you doing today?
Hey, I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
You're
Appreciate it.
welcome. Yeah, I should tell people, so we've been friends for years. I used to work in a really well-known Bruce Springsteen tribute band, Bruce in USA, and that was one of the bands that you follow. And you're a mega Bruce fan, but beyond that, you're sort of a financial advisor to the stars, to a lot of creative people, a lot of well-known sports figures,
Yep.
UFC, and some different things like that. And I've actually often called you myself to ask you for financial advice because you have a very big background, has worked for a really prominent, there were several prominent companies for that. You also you're very well versed in the crypto world, which is pretty hot these days.
Yeah, sure
so,
is.
so there's a lot of stuff we could talk about. But how you been doing? What have you been up to these days?
Well, I've been doing good. The big man upstairs has got me on this journey, and it's a very, very challenging journey. But for those of for the guests that are watching and listening, my life is taking a major, major turnaround. My father always told me, and now I really understand it, Rome was never built in a day, but it was destroyed overnight. And it took me 26 years to get to where I was 2.5 years ago. And my life was literally destroyed in less than 24 hours. So, being involved in over a $300 million Ponzi scheme that I had absolutely no idea what was going on. It is still being taken apart. There are many, many pieces to this puzzle as we are all finding out. So I have to be really careful about what I say per my attorneys.
Right.
Um, so I've had to make a switch in my career. And this is the part about motivating, coaching. I'm 60 years old. My wife, Jennifer, is going to turn 63 the day after tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm right there with you.
Yeah, right.
I'll be 60 in April.
Is this where we thought we'd find ourselves 20 years ago?
Yeah, and that's an interesting question because I've often, we all ponder that as we get older, and when
Yeah.
you're 30, 60 sounds like, you're under death's door.
Absolutely.
you know,
It really does. And time goes by quick
yeah.
because now, because of the situation that we find ourselves in, we have to think totally different because we only have so much time left. And number two, how much energy do you have left in the tank to try and accomplish what you want to accomplish?
Right. And you've got family and I know you're a big family guy. So it's, you have to kind of decide. And I've talked a lot and I've actually posted a lot about that. You have to really decide how, like you mentioned, how you want to spend your time because we don't know, obviously we don't know when that day is going to come when we don't have, we're not going to be here to enjoy family and to enjoy that stuff. And then also too, these days, it seems like many Americans, and that's where we're going to come into the financial planning and all that kind of stuff. But many Americans just work and work and work, and they get to retirement age and they don't really have anything saved, especially in our case, creative people,
Correct.
artists, even sports people, which you're very familiar with. Um, so, yeah, I know life's challenging, and there's also the financial world. It's so tricky, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone has a definition of what their financial success is,
Right.
right? So, but individuals think of money mathematically. Money represents the way you want to live your life when you're ready to retire, right? So it's that old saying for 30 to 40 years, you're going to work hard for your money and then have your money work hard for you those final 10, 15, 20 years of your life. So, my objective when I was doing 100% financial planning was positioning individuals to live their most affluent life with purpose today and then have the ability, if they wanted to, have the ability to spend every dollar that they ever earned. And the analogy that I will give you is I have seen witnessed individuals pass away with $1 million in their bank account.
Right. And which, if you have family and you have people you're taking care of course, is a good thing. But there's a
No,
balance there too, right?
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I agree with you 100%. But here's the flip side of the coin. Those dollars that were in that account were exchanged for your time,
Right.
and they provided you a monetary unit. And when my new favorite saying was at the time when I was doing financial consulting was, you can't, I've yet to see a Hearst, um, I've yet to see a U-Haul truck follow a Hearst because you
Exactly.
can't take it with you.
Right.
So those dollars that you exchange, the time that you exchanged for those dollars were dollars that you earned that were never enjoyed.
Right. Well, I mean, sometimes, but I get your exact point. It's you're trading time for money, which a lot of people they intellectually kind of understand it in a way, but they don't really realize that that's time you don't ever get back.
Absolutely.
And a lot of people
Absolutely.
that's something I've really, I've had a kind of a crazy career and pro musician, whatever, photographer. And one thing I've always tried to incorporate is making time for me to go travel, to go do stuff, because a lot of folks, they work their entire life. They think they're going to have, 20 years, 30 years in retirement, and then something bad happens.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It was, I literally either today or tomorrow on my LinkedIn platform, I just recorded it earlier today about life happens, shit happens in life to good people,
Right.
right? So you take and here's the story, you take a farmer who loves his family, he plants his crops in the springtime, and he does everything correctly through the entire summer, and he has a beautiful crop, and in the fall, the night before he sends the combines out, a hailstorm comes through and destroys his entire crop,
Right.
right? So what happened? That's life. It happens. So you have to pick yourself up. You can't, you're going to complain. We're all going to complain about it. But once you're over the complaining, you have to take action to do something else, because it's going to happen time and time again. Whether you're a good person or you're a bad person, shit is going to happen. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, and if you work with somebody like you or a financial planner, or even just doing your own research, on
Yep.
your own as a human, because now we have a lot of resources with that
Oh
way that
yeah.
didn't exist even 5 or 10 years ago.
Yep.
Um,
You're I apologize. You're absolutely spot on.
yeah, it's all good. What do so in terms of creatives and musicians and artists in general, um, most artists and these guys, I can guess I can count myself as one, don't really even they don't think they can even really say, like, they're always struggling and they're always doing this. What's like a couple of really key things that you would talk to these guys about if they're sitting in front of you? Like, what would be some things that you think like that you can get started even if you don't have a lot of money?
Yeah, that's a good opening question when I work with athletes, entertainers, musicians in this case. Um, I ask probing questions so I can really understand who you are, where you want to go, more importantly, what was your journey to the point when we first met? Because everyone's journey is different,
Right.
right? So a question would be, what was the worst financial decision you ever made? What was the worst decision in life you ever made? Right? So moving from financial planning to personal coaching and motivational speaking, it's the same type of question, but just words are a little bit different. What is the proudest financial moment you have ever, or the best financial decision you ever made? What is the best decision you have ever made in your life? Um, Do you find yourself financially where you thought you would be 20 years ago? As we spoke earlier, no one ever thought we would be exactly where I am at 20 years ago with my career,
Right. Yeah,
right?
because things are always changing. Right.
Correct. And not only changing, but things that happen out of our control. It's when I go to retire. Well, what if you retire in a down market?
Right.
That puts a lot of pressure, right? So I am grateful that I had a client reach out to me about 10 days ago, a consulting client. And he's like, "Hey, Gerry, I'm getting ready to retire. I've got 25 years in the force. Can you help me make the best option choices?" Right. So, number one, I'm just thankful and grateful that these people still confide in me. And number two, it makes me feel very, very good that individuals are still searching for the best way to retire and maximize their income, because that's what they're looking for now, is how can I replace that income?
Right. And retirement means different things to different people because some
Absolutely.
people, like I always, for me, like I never saw myself actually retiring because you really have to have a reason to get up in the morning. And I mean,
Yep.
and sometimes that reason could be go hunting and fishing, and which is great too. But
Yeah.
I for me personally, I've always liked to be busy. I like doing things. Some things do happen in life where you're not physically able to keep working. So that's there. And then also, Social Security.
Yep.
Americans, it used to be that you would work all your life and then you would have your pension. Maybe you
Correct.
work for the same company for 30 years or whatever. Those days are long gone.
Yep.
Now it's the world of 401ks if you're in the real working world. And something I've gotten into, and I know you had done a lot with was crypto, and you actually were featured on the news because you had paid for your daughter's wedding with using crypto.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's one avenue. I guess it's not necessarily the safest,
Right. 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 Right.
but that is an avenue. And then another thing too, I've recently gotten into doing stocks, and I downloaded the Schwab app.
Yep.
It's very low fees and doing that kind of thing. So what's a really basic tool? Like if I came to you today and said, "Hey, I'm a musician, I'm an artist, an actor, an athlete, and I have $1,000. Um,
Hmm.
what should I do? I want to start saving for retirement, and I just don't know what to do."
Well, again, everyone's situation is going to be a little bit different, right? That's I consider that, and please don't take offense, but that's almost like a shotgun question, right?
Yeah,
A cookie
it's
cutter
broad. I
solution.
know, of course.
But everyone, number one, is totally different. Everyone has a different risk tolerance. But here's what I want to say. Um, when the Romans rule ran their empire, okay, and let's go to the Game of Thrones. The one thing that I found interesting was everyone was after precious metals, gold and silver,
Mhm.
right? To this day, gold is, I believe, as we speak today, over $3,000 an ounce or very close to it. It's right on that verge. But when I sit down and talk about financial planning and options, the majority of Americans are never have that option or never have any precious metals as part of their portfolio. And
Right.
that's very safe, less secure. So, about 3 years ago, I suggested to a client, explore gold coins. And at that time, the gold coin was just over $1,900, and
Right.
now it's pushing 3,000
Yeah.
in less than 3 years.
And I remember back when it was like $500.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. But and Daryl, that's the point that I'm trying to make is I remember, right? Well, you still have time to do it because the value of the gold is just going to continue to increase. The value of silver and platinum are going to continue to increase over time.
Right. And you can, and even beyond buying like physical gold, you can buy options. There's a lot of ways to do that because a lot of people will
Absolutely.
say, well, I don't want to buy gold because I don't feel safe having it at home or a safety deposit box or
Yeah.
whatever the case may be. But that is a good option. And also like, these days there's a lot of hype around crypto.
Yep.
Especially with the current, Trump has a lot of people that are very pro crypto, including his son Barron has
Yep.
been very active on that. Tell me a little bit about crypto and your experience with that. Like, it's obviously it could be very volatile, but
Oh, volatile. That
yeah,
is crazy. I believe last month Bitcoin was very, very near 120,000. I think it was like 117. And then it crashed all the way down to $86,000 in a matter of a week.
yeah,
So, yes, it's very, very volatile. Um, Crypto is unique. Again, my personal opinion is worthless, but what I believe, I'm not going to see it. I believe my grandson, my grandchildren are going to be using crypto on a daily basis. So what people do not understand is
or even just a digital currency in general,
yeah,
right? Yeah,
yeah. Digital currency, period, is going to be the fiat of what a dollar is, what paper money is today. So, and again, it's been around for a while, but it's still so new, and the technology continues to change that many individuals really don't understand that you can use cryptocurrency to purchase things,
yeah,
not
and
just to
that's
invest.
and that's changing exponentially right now, right?
And everywhere you start looking, people are accepting Bitcoin as a form of payment. I mean, I used it, as you said earlier, 7 years ago now. I actually literally used Bitcoin to pay for my daughter's wedding.
Yeah, that
So,
was that you were on, was it NBC News? I can't remember. I watched it
yeah,
recently.
yeah, it was on the Lester Holt evening news.
Okay. And
They
it was kind
they
of funny because when I watched that, because you were working for this financial company and you weren't really allowed to talk much.
no, no.
You had to kind of sit there and let the family do the talking for you.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. The organization that I was working with literally threatened me that if I opened up my mouth, I would be terminated. So
Funny.
we had a punt, and my wife did, and my children did the speaking, and we had to change it. And I got that threat the morning of when everyone was flying in from New York.
Oh
So
wow, yeah,
so
funny.
NBC was not happy, but they understood what was going on.
Yeah, well, it was good though. It was, you know what? I think that was actually probably for many people actually their first introduction into thinking of crypto as actual real world currency. Because a lot it's I mean even at that point it was especially new. Um, and I mean, and this isn't an endorsement for anybody. I use Coinbase, which is the
Yeah,
app, right? And I think that I've kind of delved into a lot of different areas in crypto with like MetaMask is one of them, and it gets very
yes,
complicated. Coinbase for
yep,
me has been very easy to use. There's people that like that idea. There's people that don't like it because you don't technically own your wallet directly,
right.
which I get that, and not to get into the weeds, but in terms of user friendly, it's pretty easy. But then you can even buy crypto these days on PayPal.
Yeah, PayPal, Cash App. I mean,
Yeah.
even Apple.
Right.
If you
Yep.
have right an Apple account, you can purchase crypto there. Um, there are those platforms that we just mentioned are very, very basic platforms. There are stronger platforms that you can do a lot more things on it. But what you have to remember, regardless of the platform, the way I explain cryptocurrency is the exchange rate.
Right.
So Coinbase may be the simplest wallet, but their exchange rate may be the highest out there,
Correct.
right? Where
Yeah.
if you
Which is basically
use,
the fees you're going to be charged for doing business. Right.
yes, it's kind of like when you travel internationally, there are exchange houses on each corner, and each corner has a different commission structure according to how much money you want to exchange American dollars into whatever currency you want to exchange.
Right.
So if you think of cryptocurrency and your digital wallets that way, then you can then say, okay, perhaps I want to use a different platform to hold my money.
Right. Yeah. And that kind of gets into the weeds for people who
Into the
don't know,
weeds.
because
Yeah,
you have the crypto wallet, which is technically many would tell you it's more secure,
correct.
and which it really is. And I think for me, like the reason. part of the reason why I got into that is again because I didn't really have a lot of retirement savings, and I instead of just throwing money into a bank where you're earning like
Correct.
0.1%, you know,
Yep.
at least you have the opportunity potentially to make gains, and you know, and if you're in for the long term, if you lose today but you gain tomorrow, it's fine. You're looking at
Yeah.
it, you have a different perspective. And then the other thing too is part of the reason why I opened I downloaded the Schwab app and started with doing stocks is because I just wanted to learn because that was a mysterious
Hmm.
world for me and for many people get very intimidated like doing that kind of stuff. But once you kind of get your feet wet, and you can, I mean, I would start with on that app. I'm buying like penny stocks. I'm buying,
Right.
it's a dollar a stock or a share.
Yep. Yep.
And then and I'll tell you something I've been doing too, which is really interesting because obviously the world has changed. Is I've been using AI to do my research for
Oh,
stocks,
absolutely.
which I
Absolutely.
know the people that are more advanced in that world, they've been on that since AI came out.
Right.
And I would even do stuff like, hey, Grok or hey, ChatGPT, give me the top 5 performing stocks in the last 24 hours under $2.
Right.
And then all these stocks, they'll give you a list, the stocks pop up and they're basically it's doing the research for you, which basically, and because we all have time crunches these days,
Yes.
it's hard to sit down for 4 hours and do your stock research, right?
No, absolutely. AI is very, very powerful. It is so powerful that even the individuals that use it for the wrong reasons, as we have seen, it works, right? So here's another thing that we have to think about. Where's AI going to be 10 years from now, 5 years from now, 2 years from now? Because
Exactly.
it's changing so much on a daily basis, and people know how to use it, and they're monetizing on the use of AI,
Absolutely. Yeah.
right? So the book that I have coming out, The Art of Selling Widgets, I had AI assist me in writing, and because I didn't like the way my thought was coming out on paper, so
Yeah.
I just asked AI and I copied and pasted it and asked AI to help me describe it in a different tense. And it saves me hours of.
Yeah. I've been doing exactly that. I said, I needed to update my resume, my music resume, well,
Yeah.
for podcasting, whatever. And I just said, hey, give me write me a bio for Music Matters podcast with Daryl Craig Harris. And within literally, 15 seconds,
Yes.
popped out a fully well written
Yeah. It's
stuff
crazy.
and it's pulling information that I would have never even thought to really include.
Yes.
Um excuse me. So yeah, that's such a useful. I just posted about that this week. I'm like, musicians and creatives especially because they can't afford necessarily to have somebody go out and write a bio for them or
Yes.
do a one that's focused on helping you gain followers or whatever your mission is. That's it's a free thing to use. ChatGPT is free, doesn't cost
Yeah,
anything. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. It's a massive, massive time saver. Um, and the beautiful part about it is once you use it often, 3, 4, 5 times a day, it actually learns who
Right.
you are,
Exactly. Yeah.
right? And that's perfect for the bio for a musician. Can you please write a bio for me for XYZ company that I need to use to hand in? And within 30 seconds, you have a 4, 5, 6 paragraph bio that you can just copy and paste into whatever document that you're using to email. It's
Right.
it's it's really, really scary on what technology is doing. And then the AI with humans. I call it cloning yourself, right?
Mm.
You take one headshot and you follow the instructions on your screen, and then all of a sudden you have 30 professionally done pictures. Some look like you and some don't look like you. It's
Yeah.
just it's insane
Or you
on
can even feed in a script
yeah,
and it'll have you talking. I mean,
yeah.
and it looks, I mean, it looks fairly real, but literally within a year or two, it's going to look exactly right. They're going to
Yeah,
have,
yeah. It's
yeah,
funny. I showed my mom when I was down in Florida. I said, "Hey, mom, did you know I spoke Mandarin?" And I don't know what
exactly.
I put in there, but she couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
That was funny. That was funny.
Yeah, it's interesting, and I mean, those are all, the thing is, it's all people get intimidated by that stuff, or even the financial stuff, but they're all just tools, and
Yep,
basically they're tools to help you reach your mission and your goals, whatever those may be, and they're different for everybody, like you mentioned.
absolutely.
Um, so you let's talk about Springsteen.
Oh no, here we go.
So you are well known as a huge Springsteen fanatic. I mean, like you're actually known, I would say, nationally, because how many Springsteen shows have you been to?
Now I'm up to 197. So
Wow.
yeah, I got three more to go. Actually, only two more to go. On my 200th show, Bruce um, gave me contact information where I can watch the show side stage by the soundboard and meet him after that. So I pulled that rabbit during his autobiography tour when Born to Run came out. So I met him, and you only have 15 seconds with the guy because it's like a production line of people just taking
Yeah,
pictures.
and everybody's fighting to meet him.
Yeah. So I just went up to him and I said, "Hey, Bruce, two things. Number one, thanks for your music and your lyrics. It's made an impact in my life." And at that time, it was 184 or 85 shows. Is there any way that I can be your guest on show number 200? And he used the F bomb a couple of times, but after I got my picture taken with him, he asked his assistant to come over. We exchanged information and went and saw him on Broadway a couple of times, and then
Yeah, I
actually,
heard the Broadway thing was really awesome
yeah, yeah, it was very very unique. It was
because he was
really really
telling
cool.
stories and playing music and
Yeah, what I saw the show towards the end of the Broadway run, and I'm glad I saw it at that point in time because it was natural versus reading off of a teleprompter and reading um, the script of the show in the very beginning.
yeah, he had to kind of that because that wasn't. I mean, obviously that was not a forum that he was really used to.
No.
Although he is a great storyteller, if you see him on Howard Stern and these different shows,
Oh yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
but making that work night after night on Broadway is a challenge.
Yeah, it was. So I was grateful that I had the opportunity to see and witness the show in New York. And then March of 24, I was out in Vegas with our friend Matt. I
Yeah,
flew in for 24 hours, and I and his wife and two other of their friends, we went to the show together, and that
well,
was
you
the
called me because you had an extra ticket.
yeah,
And I
yeah,
was like, and I like Bruce. I mean, obviously, I played in the band with Matt,
yeah.
but I'm not, as big. So
No, I get
I
it.
was like, you should give it to somebody who's really, really good.
It was Matt's been doing the Springsteen gig for nearly 25 plus years.
Yeah, and
And
he's the best in the world,
yeah,
probably at
he,
doing
he
that. Yeah,
he really is. And I think we are not just saying that because he's a friend, but he is a true professional at his craft. And the interesting part was he was a nervous wreck. He didn't want to go to the show because he didn't think he was good enough to go watch the real man himself, and he's only seen him one or two times.
yeah.
So his
And it's not. I
philosophy,
mean, and the thing about the Springsteen thing experience, I think, is it's not. And I noticed this just playing with Bruce and USA, like we would play, Brooklyn Bowl in New York and whatever. It's not just Bruce. It's the fans. The
yeah,
fans are really. It's like the whole event, right?
yeah, it is. I actually just 2 weeks ago, I was down in Florida taking visiting my mom and dad and helping them out for 4 or 5 days. And they were down in, I think it was Vero Beach, just like 16 miles from my parents' house. It was just a coincidence.
Hmm.
And I shot him a text and I was like, "Hey, you mind if I come to the show? Leave me a ticket." And you get there a little bit early, you have a beer or two with everybody in the band, you catch up, and then you go watch the show. And after the show, you go out for a drink or you grab a bite to eat, and you see him again in 4 or 5 months
Yeah,
at a venue closer to you.
yeah. And it's pretty. I mean, obviously, a lot of bands have great fans, but the Bruce thing is a unique thing.
It
Um, it's sort of like the Grateful Dead thing. I would equate it to that, where you
Yes,
have people that have brought their kids, their grandkids, like it's a whole family that's enjoying it, right?
yeah, that is pretty cool to see. And I was asking Matt the other day now where he finds himself at this point in his career, would he have done anything different? And he said, no, not really. I would have made a few different choices, but I just love doing this, and that's why I continue to do it, you
Yeah,
know?
I think it's Bruce in the USA.com, I think, but
Yeah, it
you can
is. It's
find them on social.
bruceintheusa.com.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and those guys are all. I mean, I played with them for a couple of years, but they're all still good friends of mine. So I would encourage people. They do much, probably mostly East Coast, I guess, these days. But
Yeah. East Coast, they've been out to the West Coast. The exciting part that Matt and Sully and the guys are working on right now is they're getting ready to start pushing the Symphonic Springsteen collection.
right, and you were actually with us when we played with the Pacific Symphony in Orange County,
County,
California,
yeah.
and I gave you my camera, and I'm like, hey, shoot photos and take video.
Yeah, I forgot about that. You're absolutely right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was a long time ago.
That was, but that is a very, very unique experience listening to Springsteen with an orchestra
Yeah, it's
behind
cool.
you,
Right,
right? I recently, maybe a year ago, 2 years ago, I went and listened to the music of Queen here in Indianapolis
right.
with the Indianapolis Symphony, and it was just spectacular.
Yeah, I did the Queen Symphonic Spectacular. I think we actually played in Indy with their
Okay.
symphony, and yeah, that's standing there like we would do. We did Red Rocks in the
Yeah.
venue in Denver, which is Denver Symphony is great. And I remember pulling my ears out during like parts of the overture, that kind of
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
It just gives you chills. There's
No,
nothing really like that.
yeah, when I was a kid, I would be like, I ain't listening to no orchestra, right? And now I find myself listening to all sorts of music that has orchestra behind it. Your taste buds change
Yeah,
over
yeah, and
time.
I've always, and for me musically, I've always listened to kind of everybody. I like the
Yeah.
early rap stuff and all that. Like just all that stuff is fun. And you also, so you have a connection with UFC. I think you've known Dana for several years. How did that come about?
That was, I just happened to be at the right place, the right time. And I always told him, you must have been in a good mood. We became, I'm not going to say friends, but once, twice a year. The guy's constantly busy, so I don't bother him.
Yeah,
But I was in Pittsburgh when I first met him, and I just asked him if there would be any way to upgrade my seats. I had tickets to the fights in Pittsburgh, which were up in the euchre seats.
yeah,
And he said, yeah, sure, absolutely, but you have to promise me you won't scalp the tickets outside. And I gave the tickets to my son. He walked out. Security let him walk out. He just gave the tickets to somebody and walked back in less than 5 minutes. And he upgraded me. And I just sent him an email thanking him for his
hmm.
generosity, for his kindness. And that's how the relationship started. And 72 fights later from around the world, Brazil 3 times, Montevideo, Uruguay, Argentina, um,
Yeah,
all over the
that's truly. I mean, and we kind of know that it's global, but it really is global.
it
Like
it really, really is. I mean, New Zealand, Australia,
they've been doing, I think Dubai, right?
yeah, Dubai. They were just in Dubai maybe a month ago.
Yeah, Dana goes over there for like 6 weeks at a time and it sits there.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, and
Actually,
UFC for people that don't know, UFC is I'm based in Vegas and that's where they are. They have a
yes.
huge facility here.
Yeah, you know what was interesting during COVID? The UFC fought in Dubai for nearly 4 months. All the fights took place in Dubai. The UFC created their own bubble, and it was jokingly called Fight Island, where you were not allowed to leave. Um,
Okay.
and they were flying. They had jets that they chartered, commercial airline jets, where they just flew the fighters back and forth. Um, the Sphere there in Vegas.
Right.
They,
Yeah. They just had a fight, right? I think.
Yeah,
Let's see.
and it was one of the most spectacular. I was not there. I watched it, but it was what a production that Sphere put on.
Yeah.
Um,
As soon as they opened the sphere, that was one of the things he said. He instantly came out and said, "We're going to do a fight there."
yeah,
He's like, "I don't know when that's going to happen." So
yeah, it's you know, I'm grateful for the relationships that I have with the UFC. Actually, I was texting with his personal assistant Saturday afternoon before the fights, this past pay-per-view on Saturday, because I
mm,
haven't we haven't talked, you know, and what I'd like everyone to realize is people of that stature, even Matt, right, who
yeah.
is a musician, and yourself, I've reached out to you for help with tickets
Yeah,
sometimes.
and I've reached out to you for financial stuff. So and like we all help each other.
Yeah,
Life's it's a
that
better world, right?
yeah. So it was like I can't remember who I sent an Oh, that was it. I made a brand new connection with an executive of FC Cincinnati, the soccer team in Cincinnati,
Right.
through LinkedIn, and I just sent him a message and asked him for tickets to a game 2 weeks ago. 3 hours later, I had the message, hey, here you go. Your tickets are here. This is how you're going to get them electronically. So I sent them a little care package. You know, I think about these people in high profile areas, and people ask. People take constantly,
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
right? But very rarely do people reciprocate, whether it's just putting a $5 Starbucks gift card and saying thank you for being so kind. That's all that it takes,
Yeah.
you
Well, in
know?
life, I mean, and you know this, but as well as I've learned over the years, over my many almost 60 years, is life and success often is about relationships.
That's
You know,
it.
you can be the best musician, the best financial person, the best whatever, but if you don't know how to create lasting, meaningful, not just
Yes.
transactional
Yes.
relationships. And like you said, a lot of those folks, because I've been fortunate to work with a lot of high profile folks, and they're so again, like you mentioned, they're so used to people trying to get something from them that
Yeah.
when you make a really big effort to let them know that they're appreciated, that goes a long way with those folks, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's you know, years ago the bracelet of the WWJD, right? What would Jesus do? If we just treat people the way we would want to be treated, everyone would be successful because their attitudes would be different every day. Their attitude, the way they think, the way they communicate, the way they treat others, we would all find more happiness inside of who we are as individuals.
Yeah, and it's I mean, and I think you're the same as I am, where I like to help people, and
Yeah,
especially
absolutely.
folks that like with the financial stuff or career stuff that they some folks just don't know because it's just a lack of experience or they get intimidated. And I would encourage everybody like not to get intimidated by financial things. Start
No,
small, like what I did. Like I mentioned,
yeah,
I got into crypto, I got into the stock market,
yeah.
just getting my feet wet and wanting to learn. And
Uh,
you don't need to risk thousands of dollars. You can
mm,
literally start with $100
a-
and
a-
just
ab-
buy little stuff and like try it
yeah,
out.
absolutely. I mean, you know, there's nothing wrong with opening up a crypto wallet and having an automatic draft out of your checking account for $10 a day,
Right.
right?
Or $50 a month or
Yeah,
whatever it is.
whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
It works better if you purchase it on a daily basis because of the price fluctuation all the time.
Right.
But you know, I remember purchasing Cardano when it was 2 cents.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and you know what? That's people don't realize that when Bitcoin first started, it was basically like mail order.
Yeah, yeah, it's
It was an
crazy.
online address that you would contact, and then you would tell them how many, and it was like what I don't even know, pennies
Yeah,
per
yeah.
coin. And there's a famous story of a guy doing the first pizza or first crypto transaction, buying a pizza for was it like 9 million
Yeah. Actually, I
bitcoins.
read an article in the morning. I can't remember. I have an article coming out, and they sent me the link, so I was reading the news article, And there's a gentleman who's going dumpster diving because he has over $11 million in
on a
Bitcoin
hard drive. Yeah.
on a hard drive somewhere. And he's diving, he's actually at the landfill trying to find that. It's crazy.
Yeah, I know. And they didn't, they didn't know. But I think that, well, there's a couple of thoughts that I have. First of all, I'm 60, and I haven't really been saving for retirement beyond Social Security, which we don't have a choice, of course.
Right.
And I thought, you know what? If I start today and I do it for 10 years till I'm 70, I could actually build up a nice little nest egg that just didn't exist before. And it's
Correct.
just like you mentioned, it's doing it every day. It's kind of just doing when you have extra money, maybe skip the coffee and donuts at Starbucks, take
Yep.
that money and
Yep.
buy, but you don't know it. And over time it builds up. And then one day you're going to have, hopefully you'll have Social Security, but then you also have this other thing that'll enable you to have a good life, to travel, to help out your friends, maybe, help out family if you want to do it, whatever you want to do. But if you don't start, you're not going to ever get there.
Yeah,
you know
you're absolutely right. Yeah, you have to. An idea is only an idea until you put it into action.
exactly. It's about the execution of the
It's
idea.
about the execution of the play. It's
Yeah.
kind of like when they call a timeout in a ball game, regardless of what sport it is, they're putting that idea into action the very next play. We
Right.
we have to be willing to take our ideas and put them into action. And if you fail, there's nothing wrong with failing
Yeah, and
because
people often say, but you learn way more from failure than success.
absolutely you learn so much more. But yeah, the secret word, two words are action and execution of that idea to help you get one step further. And one of my favorite sayings is, as long as I have one more move, I'm still in the game. So
Exactly.
many
Yeah.
people will find their backs to the wall and they'll say, "Oh, I'm done." Right? Nah, no one's ever done until you stop breathing. You always have one more move. You just have to figure out what that move is.
Yeah. And creatives, I think creatives in general, to back to that, are very good at coming up with ideas. That's what they do. That's their profession. And then okay, you come up with the idea, but then it's the execution of the idea. It's figuring out the first step to getting going, which whether it's saving for retirement, whether it's just you have a project you want to do, you've got to be able to execute the second part of it and take care of the business side of it, right? It's not enough.
Uh,
It's not enough to just have the idea.
co- Correct. And you also have to be humble enough to ask for help.
Exactly, and that also comes back into the not being afraid to fail, because a
Yep.
lot of people don't want to admit that they don't want to admit what they don't know,
Yep.
and that's a human thing, and I get that, but you have to be like fearless and not be don't be afraid of being stupid. Just
Yeah,
you know
that is 1,000% spot on.
yeah.
In the last 8 months, that journey that I'm on about being a coach, it's like, do I have certifications? No, but I've walked the walk,
Right.
right?
At a high level. Yeah. People
Yeah,
don't know your full background. I do. And, or, and you definitely have the credentials and you've worked hard all your life to do that. It wasn't by accident that you've learned what you've learned. And it's not always easy, of course. And the financial world is crazy. There's a lot of
Oh
craziness.
no, no. I've probably failed over 2,000 times in the past 28 years, right?
Right.
And one of them just blew up my world. So it's like, okay, what do I do? Just put my head in the sand and don't
Yeah.
do anything?
Yeah. You gotta pick yourself up just like anything. Like, you get fired from a band, your show closes, whatever. And that happened to me. It's happened
Yeah,
to all of us. But then you got to wake up the next morning and go, okay, now what? We got to figure it out.
yeah,
you know?
absolutely. And this is what you do. This is what you do best. And it all works out if you have the commitment, the drive, the desire, the persistency to not accept defeat.
Exactly. Yeah. Or, and you acknowledge defeat and then you move on.
Absolutely. And
It's
there's
like,
nothing wrong with it,
no,
right?
because you're in the game. If you're not,
Yeah.
it's easy to be very safe and not never take risk, but then there you don't get the reward.
Yeah.
You've
It's
got, it
kind of,
comes hand in hand, right?
yeah, absolutely. It's kind of like what Kelsey said a couple of days ago, right? He accepted the defeat in the Super Bowl. He accepted his lack of performance, and he said it's never going to happen again.
Yeah,
So
that Super Bowl thing was pretty rough.
that was insane.
When I saw
But
Mahomes get the sack 3 times in like 5 minutes, I'm like, oh my god, something's wrong.
yeah, absolutely.
Although I work with the Raiders and they've had a rough couple of years,
Yeah.
so hopefully though,
Well,
with the new coach, hopefully they'll do better.
yeah, new coach, and then you have the baseball stadium coming in there. I've seen
Yeah,
the renderings of that thing. That
yeah.
thing
There's a
looks
lot. There's also going to be an NBA stadium in Vegas that's coming as well. They're trying to get an NBA team. That's their next move beyond after baseball. So
it's going to happen. It's
yeah,
going to happen.
yeah, a lot of people. I mean, well, you know that too. They were afraid to have professional sports in Vegas for many years because of gambling.
Yeah.
But now gambling is everywhere and it's online, so that whole thing kind of went by the wayside. I
Yeah,
guess I don't know.
I felt sorry for the bookies, right?
Well,
Once
even the casinos, because I mean,
they're hurting.
I just saw a big report about that. Like, they have Caesars is hurting badly. A lot of the casinos are struggling because of all the online gambling. People don't need to come to Vegas to gamble, especially for
Correct.
sporting events. And so that's that kind of ties back into the UFC stuff too, being based here. There's
Yep.
and the Raiders and the Vegas Golden Knights, all the sports teams now. Um, but yeah, it's it's exciting in Vegas. It's crazy, and hopefully, hopefully the Raiders will get
Yeah,
their stuff worked
absolutely.
out.
You made me think real quick. Prior to the UFC opening up that massive, massive office and the performance center there, I don't know what highway, but it's literally right
Yeah,
off the highway there.
215. Yeah.
Yeah, their office was in an old apartment complex directly across from the casino that Frank Lorenzo owns. What is that one? Red Rock? Is it Red Rock Casino?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, directly across the street from there in
Funny.
it was literally an apartment complex that the UFC purchased and turned into their corporate office. No sign, no nothing.
Yeah, Dana White's story, for people that don't know, it's really an inspiring story. That's a guy that has just worked hard, put his nose to the grindstone, and created this megalith of the UFC, which is, again, like, it's very global.
Yeah.
And
And he's
yeah.
not done yet. He's got the power slap going. That's taken off.
Yeah,
And he
that's a little hard to watch, but yeah.
Yeah, it is. And then this past Thursday or Friday, he signed on to be start a new professional boxing league to go head to head with the WBA and the WBC.
Oh,
So
okay,
yeah,
interesting.
he's got a gentleman from Dubai, he's got another gentleman from Europe, and himself are the three owners of that fight league for professional boxing.
Yeah,
So
and I shot a lot of boxing because I actually worked with some of the folks at Top Rank,
okay,
doing social media stuff, and I shot the um oh, I can't think of his name now. It's funny. They had their World Heavyweight Championship at Wembley, and I shot that fight. I've shot fights with them a lot.
yep.
Um, who's the crazy big fighter, the very tall guy? I can't think of his name now. It's funny.
Yeah, not
Fury, yeah, Fury, yeah.
Fury. Yeah,
I
yeah,
shot
yeah.
that. I've shot a couple. Well, actually, I guess maybe three of his fights. And he's hilarious. He's fun. The press conferences with him are always crazy.
Right.
But hey, Gerry, thank you so much for joining me. I know we could go on for hours because we've known each other for a long time.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
But you have such a interesting story, like, and you're very well versed for a lot of things beyond just financial planning. You definitely know the entertainment world and music world, and I think you have a lot to offer for that. How can people find you if they want to contact you, like with website and social media and all that stuff?
Well, yeah, thank you. I'm all over every social media platform. It's at iCan Coaching. And the website is obviously www.icandoit.com.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and everybody, please check that out. Gerry's, and he's always open to questions. If you have questions about financial planning, retirement stuff, he said even crypto, he's very well versed in that world as well. So thank you so much, Gerry.
Daryl, no,
We'll have
I
to
appreciate.
meet up in person soon. I know you get out to Vegas periodically, but
Yeah, now with the grandkids, not as much, right? My life has shifted to the grandchildren, but I will. I have to get back out to that Pioneer Saloon. I'm dying for one of those steaks again.
yeah, that's a great place. It's about a half hour out of Vegas, an original Old West saloon. It's very,
Yeah,
very cool. Cool, man. Thank you so much. Tell your family I say hello. I haven't seen those guys either for a long time. So
I absolutely will.
awesome. Thank you so much, Gerry.
All right, thanks. Have a great day. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Bye bye.